that the best views of the city's architecture and sights are to be had from the top of an omnibus. And I should point out to our foreign guest that there is a skylight in the roof allowing a view of the interior from the seats above. Skylight. The penny drops at last, I see. These two gentlemen were occupying the rooftop seats on this omnibus when the murder took place. That is how they came to witness the grim incident. Through the skylight. Makes perfect sense. There are a number of important clues remaining inside the carriage, my lord. I would like to submit the omnibus itself as evidence. That is the prosecution's wish. Very well, I see no reason why not. This omnibus is hereby formally accepted as evidence. So the omnibus is the carriage. In this case, it's an 8-seater omnibus that was the scene of the crime. There were passengers both inside the carriage as well as on top of the roof deck that night. How about we give it a check first? Alright, so this is the victim. The victim was stabbed inside the carriage on the back left side. He was stabbed with a knife of some sort into his abdomen. Blood splatter is minimal. Nothing suspicious so far. And this is the omnibus in question. Let's take a look. Alright, at first glance, nothing out of the ordinary, but now here's the situation right now. So the victim is seated somewhere in here on the back left side of the omnibus. Two of the witnesses claim that they have seen the victim from these two seats through this sky window. But, and here comes the problem, there aren't any windows here to enable the driver of the carriage to see the victim. However, in the testimony just now, the driver claimed that he has seen the victim. So I think that's a major contradiction. Probably we can point that out. Let's get to the testimony. I could help myself a lot by giving that omnibus a thorough examination, seeing as it's already done. Oh, maybe we need to get the statement from the evidence itself, a written statement. Alright, as much as it pains us, let's re-examine the omnibus. So as you can see, when I move the cursor like this, it's not blinking, meaning there's no point of interest that has been selected. But if I do this, suddenly the cursor changes, which indicates that there is something of interest that we should investigate in this area. So let's try to do that. Alright, so now we get to see the inside of this carriage. Aha! That's blood that is soaked into the seat. The victim's, obviously. Yes, and that seat would be clearly visible from the roof deck. Would you really stab somebody in full view of the other passengers like that? Well, it was after dark, and there was a lamp on in here, so perhaps the culprit couldn't see anything outside through the skylight. The great exhibition poster due to start 6 months from now. There's a lot of focus being drawn to the Crystal Tower, the centerpiece of the whole exposition. The Crystal Tower. Okay, is there any other point of interest? Yes, the sky window. Large enough to afford a good view into the cabin from the roof deck, right? And there doesn't appear to be a handle or catch of any description, so I suppose it can't be opened from inside the cabin. Okay, so this sky window or skylight glass is not able to be opened from the inside. It can only be opened from the outside. Let's keep that in mind. So what else do we have? The seat has a handle. What is that? Equipment that might be needed to help the omnibus running. Okay. Filling the tubs, tools to repair wheels, blankets, horseshoeing tools. Okay. Storage compartment for the coachman to keep his things. With any space for passengers to stow their luggage. Okay, here's my theory. So our client, the guy that's in a hat that was accused to be the murderer of this case, seems to be the only person to be sitting inside this carriage with the victim. What if there is another person that is able to occupy this space, waiting for the opportune moment to strike, and when the crime is done, the perpetrator actually left. I think that's where the focus of this case is going to be heading to. We have the same thing here. We do not have, but there's something here, right? What's that? A poster for, oh, same. The roof deck of the omnibus. So at most, right now, the maximum amount of passengers that this carriage could carry is 4 on top and 4 at the bottom, bringing us a total of 8 passengers, and only 2 out of those 8 can see the victim from the top, because if you adjust the angle at which they can see the skylight glass, only the back 2 seats can see the victim. Sorry, the front 2 seats can see the victim, because the victim is located inside at the left back side of the carriage. Can you imagine being dragged around sitting in perhaps that is the real price paid still. Alright, let's see if there are other point of interest chosen. That one, Phoenix Ride Omnibus. Okay, I think that's all about the thing that we can do for now. Okay, we gotta stand by for this cross-examination, because there has got to be some contradiction from the witnesses. Pray don't expect this Nipponish stray to understand the intricacies of British courts' cross-examination rights. first cross-examination in a British court. Alright, so this will be the statements by all the three witnesses. We must try to investigate which statement is contradictory to the evidence that we currently have. Starting with the first witness, Beppo. He said, "It was the last bus of the evening, so I had few customers. I remember it well." Right, so far it doesn't contradict with any of the evidence. The second witness says that his name is Mr. Fairplay. What's his full name? Back. Mr. Fairplay said the victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Next to each other meaning both of them occupy the back seat inside the carriage. That has got to be an important point for us to be able to point out where the contradiction lies. Okay. He said then out of the blue the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. Guts mean around the stomach, tummy and abdominal area. The accused just reached over and plunged a knife to his guts, right? And our last witness for now is Mr. First. He said that's right, he stabbed him. I screamed, couldn't help him. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus and then I saw it too. Okay, this is the part that I think is contradictory because this is the driver of the carriage. His name is Beppo, and if you remember just now when we checked the evidence, okay, so the driver is seated somewhere in front here, or maybe okay here. Can he actually see? Yeah, that's the thing. So this is the driver's seat. We are not sure if he is actually able to see the victim there, but depending on where the two people seated, the other two, if they sit in the front, they are able to see the victim here, but if they are seated at the back, it's impossible for them to see here. So for now, it's either the driver is lying or the other two is lying. The only two people in the enclosed cabin area were the victim and the defendant. Yeah. This is the challenge that we have for this case because the accused, the defendant in this case, our client, is right now being witnessed as a murderer by 3 other people, and we have to like take care of these 3 people first, then only we can build a new case. What am I supposed to think? Is Mr. McGilded really innocent? Yeah, that's the name of our client right now, Mr. McGilded. Gather information. We actually have gathered the information needed. The last bus of the evening. Let's check our court documents again. Autopsy report said Internal hemorrhaging without a single stab wound to the abdomen. Photograph victim taken from the omnibus. The knife is clearly visible. His face is partly obscured. Alright, okay. I think there's a new angle that we can tackle this case from. So the description for the photograph said his face is partly obscured from view by an old crooked hat, meaning if someone were to be viewing from upstairs of the carriage, they wouldn't be able to see the victim actually, because his face was covered by the hat, right? I think that's the angle that we need to attack this from. Yeah, it's covered by this hat. Only the people inside were able to determine that the victim is who the real victim is. The glove the defender was wearing at the time of the incident. Blood stain on the right glove. Did we miss this? It's not the most pleasant sight. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Then, out of the blue, the accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus and then I saw it too. Okay, let's give it a try. Let's try to present the crime scene photograph to this statement.
Objection.
Okay, so it turns out it's not that evidence. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus and then I saw it too. Maybe this is the part where Haziq got stuck. Yeah, I think Haziq got stuck here, and when Haziq came to us for help, he might be thinking that we could solve this. I think there's something we're missing here. The victim and the man accused of killing him were sat next to each other inside the bus. Oh, damn. I forgot that we can actually press the witnesses for more statements. Damn it. Okay, let's start over. Okay, so basically in a court proceeding, pressing is done when you want to press those on the bench to elaborate or to provide more information towards the prosecution and the defense. I think by pressing we might get new information out of these statements from the witnesses. Right, let's try again. This time we're gonna press every single witnesses. Last bus of the evening. I remember. Well, okay, let's press.
Hold it!
Sometime after 10. Ever so cool, freezing. You had 4 passengers on board at the time. Is that correct? That's right. Not all traveling in the same parts of the bus. No other passengers. Okay. Nobody fled the scene of crime, right? Every evening, that last bus of the day. Okay, so new information. Last bus of the day, and it runs at around 10 p.m. £20 on the run. Alright, that seems fair. At the pub on the way home, just trying to warm up again. Okay, we have pressed the first witness. Nothing new gathered there. Let's try to press this one. But we have to be careful. If we press at the wrong person or the wrong statement, we might be penalized by the judge. Sitting next to each other. Okay, let's press about this statement.
Hold it!
You saw them through the skylight in the roof of the carriage. When you sit up on top of the deck, the windows right there at your feet. Okay, from this statement, this man reveals that he is not sitting at the front side of the top deck, but rather at the back side of the top deck. Meaning, if he is sitting at the back side and the victim underneath him is also at the back side, he is not able to see that victim, right? It is impossible. So I think the middle guy might be lying right now. There was a lamp on the inside. I had a pretty good view. Okay, this view can only be possible if both of them are sitting in the front of the top deck. The two of them were wearing hats, and I couldn't exactly make out their faces. Meaning anyone could be, impersonating one of the two guys here, either the accused or the victim. So both of them are wearing hats. Okay, we gotta remember that both of them are wearing hats and no full face are visible. But there's not a shred of doubt in my mind that it was Mr. McGilded. How can you be sure when you can't see the face? Right? That's what I was saying. How can I put it politely? Mr. McGilded is a gentleman of rather small stature. So he wants to say that our client is short. I couldn't have mistaken him for anyone else. Oh, not many short people in London, I guess. When the vehicle came to a halt, the only people inside the enclosed cabin were the deceased Mr. Mason as well as Mr. McGilded, our client, alright? There is no room for doubt here. I really wish there was. Huh. When we press this statement, there must be new things coming out, new truth that we can actually use against the witnesses. The accused just reached over and plunged a knife right into his guts. Sitting next to each other, if you want to stab someone next to you quickly and you are right-handed, your weapon must be on the right side, right? So let's try to press this statement, try to find out what we can contribute to the evidence of this case. You actually saw the moment that it happened. Didn't I already testify to that? Or are fair income, hardworking city bankers not considered trustworthy these days? Hardly. This is no good. I've really got his back up. Perhaps you can just tell us what you saw in a little more detail. My mind is made up, completely and utterly made up. What does he mean by that? I don't like stinking rich. Never have. Always up to something or other that they shouldn't be. Every one of them. That little leprechaun of a man is no exception. He can't fool me. There's no point wasting time listening to any more of this. That's my opinion. That is precisely what I was about to say. As the foreman of the jury, it's my duty to set a good example to my fellow jurors. Alright, so the judicial system in this case might not be the current system that we are having in our real life. The juror system in this case is actually the result depends on the jurors. If the jurors think that we are innocent, although all the evidence are stacked against us, we will be declared innocent. But if we are able to prove a good case that we are innocent, however the jurors, all the jurors think or feel that we are guilty, then the final verdict will be a guilty verdict. Right, Susato? Members of the jury give their verdicts with fire. Oh, okay. White for innocent, black for guilty. But we didn't see any black fire just now. 6 members of the jury. Accountable for the good skills of justice. If those enormous skills fall completely to the black side, the very best to make sure it doesn't happen. Yeah. Stab him, I scream, I did, couldn't help it. Let's press further. Jen sitting there. Alright, so this is the little Jen, it's our client, this is the victim. New head design. on, so I was just gazing absent-mindedly around. Then I happened to look down through the skylight. It was sticking right out from his belly, that huge great knife. Sticking out of his belly, the huge great knife. Alright, seems fair. No, we are screwed. That appears to have made everyone even more dubious than Mr. McGill did. That Mr. McGill did is telling the truth. Mr. First, is this the knife you saw? Wait, how come the prosecution can hide evidence from the court? You have to submit. Alright, the murder weapon is with the prosecution team right now. The scabbard is emblazoned prominently with a certain initial. Okay, so the murder weapon has a letter on it. If the letter matches with the name of our client, then we are screwed. There's no coming back from that, I think. All the 6 jurors, whatever you call them, will definitely think that our client did it. So before that happens, we need to secure a point of interest that would somehow suggest that someone else could have committed this crime. The letter M, hold on, what's the name of our clients now? People. So this is our assistant, this is Chief Judge Magnus McGilded. Double M's, we are screwed. Our client's name is Magnus McGilded. The murder weapon is inscribed with the initial letter M. There's no way coming out of this. We are not getting out of this. There are M's everywhere. That's not a strong case. Who's Mason? Okay, so luckily the victim is also someone with a letter M inside his name. Mr. Mason, the dead victim. Who else is M? Bruce Fairplay, Lady First, Beppo, Barrett Von Zix. We only have 2 M's, either Mason or Magnus.
Objection!
This blade is far too extravagant for a poor brickmaker to have owned. This weapon of murder almost certainly belongs to the accused. Not conclusive, but certainly compelling, right? You know what? Before we press any further statement, how about we try to examine the knife first? Yeah, let's just ignore that. A large knife that was found lodged in the victim's abdomen. Its quality and fancy ornamentation suggests it must be quite valuable. Maybe by examining this we can find a new evidence. Dude, I don't think that's an M. That might be a W, right? I mean, I myself sometimes write documents in cursive letters. Is that an M or W? Point of interest. Sheath. There's still blood mark on the blade. How about the hilt? Nothing on the hilt. Let's examine this letter then. That's what I've been saying. So our next order of business is to check inside our list of witnesses which one has the letter W in their name. How can you be sure? People who has a W in their name. Lady first, Bruce Fairplay BF, Beppu B, Mason M, Baruch Van Zik BVZ, Magnus Male Strongheart, Susato Mikotoba. So far we don't have anyone with a W, but as you remember in our court records on the omnibus, the company that makes the omnibus has the letter W. See? Phoenix Wright Omnibus. Maybe Mr. Wright, the owner of this carriage, has some sort of grudge against the victim. We don't know that yet. That could happen. That might be what's behind this case. So let's just focus on getting new information and evidence. Mr. McGilded is a pillar of society and a gentleman. A gentleman's word should be sacrosanct. What's that? Sacrosanct, sacred and sanctious. However, those of us in service know we must accept hot truth. Dispose of the rubbish. 3 out of 6 guilty for sure, man. Me too. One more. 4 out of 6. We only have 2 jurors left. Damn. Keep pressing, right? Let's keep pressing. As soon as I heard the scream, I stopped my bus and then I saw it too. Okay, hopefully when we press this, we got new information as to how the driver is able to see through the skylight or the sky window. Hold it! Yeah, man, what exactly did you see? The passenger. You see how he suddenly struggles with his words? The two words that he's struggling with is passenger and collapsed. Okay, finally we found a contradiction. The victim did not collapse because the final photograph of the crime scene shows that he died sitting, right? So maybe we can present that as the contradictory evidence. The other passenger had that knife in his hand, like this. Like this, right? He plunged it down like this, stabbing the other passenger in the belly. Yeah, I think we can present that photograph finally. The idea of a murder being committed in one of the city's carriages is utterly abhorrent to me. It wouldn't be right to make a decision before hearing all the facts, though, I said to myself. But I've heard enough. The horse has bolted, as they say. Is that 5 out of 6? Just now was 3 out of 6, so this is 4 out of 6. No, this is 5. Just now was 4, this is 5. Yeah, he's juror number 5. Once I remember video and I trust what the man says. Which now means that 5 jurors agreed to condemn this man. We only have 1 left. And it's an old grandma. Damn. Madam Juror number 6. You have heard the testimonies of the witnesses in the stand. Then pray tell, why are you yet to pronounce your leaning? She's a creature of habit, Always go to the park at around this time of day and sit on a nice bench and get on with my knitting. There's a lovely little park just near where I live, McGilded Park. Probably a donation from our clients towards the city, I hope. The gentleman donated it to the city to put a smile on Londoners' face. Yep, just like I thought. Yeah, that's the thing. The reputation of our client is very positive, in which a majority number of people say that he is such a philanthropist. He likes to donate plot of lands, stuff. He likes to help the needy people. So I think for now we it's safe to say that he's innocent, and hopefully this jury will be on our side. He is always doing wonderful things for the city. That's right, a man like that wouldn't stab someone, surely. Mother, may we go to the McGilded Public Library later and go? See? He even, established a library, public library. I don't think this kind of person is, have the guts to carry out a murder like this. How many Londoners live with their heads in the clouds? Do you people not know what kind of a man Magnus McGilded really is? The philanthropist Magnus McGilded has enough wealth to purchase the entire city he claims to value so highly. But where did all that wealth come from? Maybe old money? Maybe he is a descendant to a very wealthy family or something. Your client is a Shylock, sir, and one of the very darkest of souls. What? Stone of the Crows. McGilded lends money at extortionate rates of interest, so his victims have no hope of repaying. Oh God. When they default, he takes possession of everything they own. He is a vulture that preys on the weak. Never heard any mention of that before. Your faculties have deserted you, I'm sure, madam. So has this thought not crossed your mind? Would a man wealthy enough to buy London in its entirety not have a carriage of his own? What possible reason could this man have had to make use of a public omnibus service? Yeah, now that he mentions it, it's kind of weird. The victim, a poor brickmaker, had next to nothing to his name save considerable financial liability. It will come as no surprise that his creditor was the accused, Magnus McGilded. But let it also be known that the very day Mr. Mason was killed was the final repayment date for his debts. Oh, okay. So the day of the crime itself is the final payment day for Mr. Mason, right? Good gracious. The brickmaker was destitute. He had lost his house. He had not a shilling with which to repay his debts. And in the end, this beautiful soul had the very last thing he owned taken from him, his life, by the merciless philanthropist pretender Magnus McGilded. If I might add something briefly, you claim that the victim had been lent money by Mr. McGilded. But where is the evidence to support your claim? Pray forgive the discourtesy of filling my hallowed chalice in a court of law. But I find myself in an unexpectedly good humor. I had heard ladies from the Far East could show great courage, but I didn't expect to experience it in myself. Yeah, thank you, Sato. We really needed that. What a pity that your display of courage is in vain. This is the debtor's ledger, in which details all monies loaned by the accused. You will find the victim's name clearly recorded inside. Okay, so the victim was killed because of debt. So we have established a motive. He has the opportunity. We have found the murder weapon. So we have to find a fourth angle fast to, divert the attention from our client. Otherwise, the final jury will also find our client guilty, and that ends the case. Allow me to present this ledger as evidence. And pray forgive the discourtesy of raising my chalice in a toast to the enigmatic East at the same time. Judge, come on. You cannot really allow drinking in the courtroom. The catalogue of people who had borrowed money from the defendant at a high rate of interest. It includes the victim who owed 20 guineas. How much is that in Britain's currency? $20 guineas. How much is that exactly? Alright, nothing of suspicion. Let's try to open this. Oh my god, it has the handwriting of a doctor. You cannot possibly read this. Maybe we can transcribe it instead. Bruce Fairplay. One of our witness. Bruce Fairplay. We gotta remember this name. That's the witness in the middle just now, that we suspected in the beginning might be lying to the court. Bruce Fairplay. Yeah, exactly. He borrowed 20 guineas. How much is a guinea? Among the defendants' list of debtors is Bruce Fairplay, who would have been due to repay his loan imminently. That's interesting. Okay, so there are two names inside here. Our client, no, the victim, Mr. Mason, as well as Bruce Fairplay. And the accused made quite certain he had ample recompense. Well, it would seem I've had the wool pulled over my eyes. Wait, hold on. Please, juror number 6. We have something of considerable prominence that we should show you. Regrettably, madam, that is the modus operandi of the accused. Such pretty little pug too. What a scoundrel. No! No! Maybe it's over this. So what? Guilty? Oh man. Alright, we failed our mission. That's the end of it. Oh god. There's no coming back from this. If you have anything that we could use, now is the time. Please, Susato. According to this Encyclopedia of British Law, when all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Court proceedings suspended. Okay, so everyone have to stop, and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. So far we didn't manage to remove the element of guilt from our client, and we have not managed to divert the attention from the murder weapon, the accused, the time of death, and method in which the victim's life was taken. I wish we had found something much earlier, I guess. A footnote. Here comes our savior. However, nope, denied. All 6 members of the jury are now in agreement in this case. Allow me to convey my respect for your swift and righteous decision.
According to the laws of this country, I will now conclude the trial by delivering my final verdict. I trust there are no objections.
Of course there are. Judge, I do want to object, but on what grounds? Miss Susato, just tell me one thing. You were in the middle of saying something before. The footnote in your Encyclopedia of British Law. However, the defense. What did it say next? When all members of the jury have concluded that the defendant is guilty, court proceedings are suspended and the presiding judge will deliver the final verdict and sentence. Then the footnote says, however, the defense has the right to demand a summation examination of the jurors. Summation examination. What is summation examination? That's peculiar.
Objection!
A summation examination? From which century has that tome you have there been resurrected? Judging from the binding, I would say that book is at least 50 years old. Any modern text on British law wouldn't even give such an antiquated procedure a mention. It's a relic, long forgotten and certainly no longer practiced. So you're out of luck. What even is it? Yeah, I wonder what's a summation examination. Quick, we are at the end. You would demand the right to a procedure before you even understand what it entails. Typical Nipponese. Under this procedure, we would be able to appeal to the members of the jury. Yeah, like that would change the verdict. All the jury thinks that our client did it. I don't think it will change anything. To do what? Okay, even if we are able to do that, we might be able to change juror number 6, I think, because she's very grateful with all the contributions of Mr. Magnus towards the London city. And it says here that if successful, the proceedings of the trial must be resumed. If successful, right? Hold on, I think I need to take my notebook for a while. So our only hope is if we pull out the pause the witness now. Summation examination, and we force all 6 juries, member of the jury, board of jury, whatever, to reconsider and reverse their verdict towards our client. So since that's the only possible way, let's go with that for now. Because it was devoid of purpose. Changing just one member of the jury's mind would be hard enough, let alone several. I agree. No self-respecting defense barrister would even assert his right to try in this day and age. Still, I don't see any mention of the procedure actually being formally revoked. What are you suggesting? Although it may be antiquated and largely forgotten, it isn't yet extinct. Summation examination, our last possible option. Do we assert our right to carry it out? Let me defeat. Right, I think this is an important junction in this case. So probably we need to cheat the system a bit. Let's give it a save. Alright, we're ready. Let's assert our right to invoke the summation examination right. The defense wishes to assert its right to summation examination, my lord.
Objection!
London is the capital city of the most powerful nation on earth. We have a duty to the world to exemplify the very highest standards of judicial procedure. Summation examinations are an embarrassment that should remain buried.
Objection!
But if it's alright, it's alright. I believe it would prove vital in this trial. The defense petition is perfectly valid. The court will proceed with the summation examination. Thank you, my lord. This is madness. Foreman, are you and the remainder of the jury ready? Huh. They all receive a letter, probably from the prosecution's side. Is it interesting? On what grounds they have reached their decision? On what grounds have you reached your decision? Justify your decisions and explain why you believe the defendant to be guilty. Well, my lord, you're rather putting us on the spot. This is most irregular. No mention was made of this before. I don't really hold with all this justifying lark. It seems none of them have experienced this before. Summation examination. No practice in the attempted for years. Right, let's try the summation examination. So be it then, ladies and gentlemen of the jury, the court hereby calls upon you to state the grounds on which you find the defendant Magnus McGilded guilty of this most serious crime. That's new. Jurors' contentions. There was no one else inside the carriage at that time, so it has to have been him, aka Mr. Magnus. I trust the driver, he has an excellent memory it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. He stuck the chap next to him, just like this. Brazen, I must say, absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collated all the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guilt. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence for years. The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. It beggars belief. Starting to wish I hadn't pushed for this now. Some of the jurors didn't seem to have wonderfully formed arguments though, do they? Well, let's see what we can do. We need to get these 6 people to change their minds. I have to throw everything I can at them and use some very persuasive language. Alright. I guess you can count on that one. According to my book, that's not quite how it works. I thought I was going to have to thaw their icy minds with some heartwarming rhetoric about the defendant. Unfortunately, once the jurors have decided the defendant is guilty, they are unlikely to heed anything the defense says. But then, they've reached their conclusions by their own reasoning. Your pleas will sound like excuses. In fact, it could recoil on you. The more you try to persuade them, the more entrenched they may become. What on earth am I supposed to do? I'm just citing what I've read about British law. Do you have any idea how to make this work then? Well, from what I can understand, the key to this procedure is using the jurors' own words to make your arguments. What do you mean? Well, the 6 members of the jury are randomly selected members of the public. They may appear to present a united front, but the truth is, they are complete strangers who just happen to find themselves here in the courtroom together. And that's the way to break them down. Yes, exactly. We must listen very carefully to what each member of the jury says and see if we can identify any contradictory statements. If we can, we then contrast the statements and pit the corresponding jurors against each other. Oh! So we do not present an evidence that shows contradiction to their contradictory statements, but rather we pit their statements together. Huh, that's peculiar. So it's contradictions in what two models say. I have to pull this off.
Can we start the proceedings, counsel? I would ask you to take the stand for this. I'm expecting a clear and concise rebuttal.
Yes, my lord. The defense rebuttal. There was no one else inside the carriage at the time, so it has to have been him. Yes. Certainly, the testimonies we've heard suggest the victim as Mr. McGregor were alone inside the carriage. Precisely my point. But could there be some other explanation, something we haven't considered yet? Yeah, this goes back to my original suggestion that another person, or even the existing person on the top deck of the carriage, could have committed the same crime. Come on. We're here to form our opinions as individuals, and I have. I trust the driver. He has an excellent memory, it seems. 4 passengers with fares totaling 20 pence. Let's check the court record. But does his ability to recall his takings that night really tell us how trustworthy the man is? I manage all his lordship's cash affairs, so I'm very particular when it comes to accounts. A single penny can mean the difference between life and death. A man who minds his figures is a man you can trust. Those of us in service would swear to that, sir. Does that bench really need any more polishing? So if the good driver says that he saw Mr. McGilded in the act, I don't doubt him. The only task left to do today is disposing of the rubbish. I know. Okay, so let's regroup. Right now we need to focus on the amount of cash for the total fare on the omnibus. Alright, let's focus on that. We are going to pit juror number X with juror number Y. He struck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say, absolutely brazen. I simply typed and collated the statements made thus far and drawn the logical conclusion. You can trust the guild. Fair fares is our motto. We haven't raised prices above 4 pence. Okay, so this juror says 1 person per head is no more than 4 pence. But juror number 3 said it's 20 pence. I think that's an inconsistency. I mean, it's not big. We might not be able to, change their minds with the verdict, but I think it's a start. Let's pit this statement with the statement of juror number 5. You can just get fair fares for motor. We haven't raised prices over 4 pence, totaling 20 pence. So I'm not sure whether the currency is the same with the current British currency, but I think we're gonna pit these two first.
Objection!
It might give new openings to us. According to the group testimony we've heard so far, there were 4 passengers on the omnibus of the night in question, and according to the coachman, Mr. Beppo, he took 20 pence in fares, meaning 5 pence per person. Oh, okay. You know what this means, right? This means there's a fifth person on that carriage. Okay, hold on. Let me explain. 5 pence per person on the current carriage, meaning 5 times 4% will give us an amount of 20 pence. But the other jurors said that it's actually 4 pence per person. So if it's 4 pence per person, there has got to be a fifth person paying the fare, right? In order for the driver to get 20 pence. There was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Yes! The coachman of the guild. A good, honest man. No one knows trustworthiness or which way. Alright, let's re-examine the 4 passengers paying 4 pence each. That's already only 16. The figures are different by 4 pence. In fact, 1 person's fare. In other words, the omnibus that night, distinctly possible there was another passenger we've heard nothing about. Okay, this is the opening that we've been praying for. I think we can use this. Oh, thank you, court transcriber. The figures your coachman claims most certainly do not add up. Your watchword, good sir, is a fallacy. Beg your pardon? Mr. Guildmaster, I think you ought to consider that if this trial were to end now, the news will surely spread all over London. The news that one of your coachmen tried to hide the fact that he lets nefarious characters ride his omnibus. Right then, how do I make it so this miserable trial doesn't end? According to my book here, you simply launch a ball of fire into the innocent side of the set of skills. We were all in agreement. Wait till I get my hands on you, Beppo. This is all very irritating. Begging your pardon, sir, I'm going to do the same. For the love of Mike, not you as well. A penny can be the difference between a smile and a tear, after all. I certainly can't put my trust in someone who doesn't follow my exacting standards in financial matters. Oh really? I for one think it's only proper that we hear from the witnesses again. Oh well done, Mr. Naruhodo, you did it. If we can manage to change 2 more jurors' minds, we can force the trial to continue. 2 more. There is something else that is bothering me about a couple of their assertions. And that's where you must strike next. So I need to pit 2 more jurors against each other and show there's another contradiction in their assertions. Exactly. You can do it.
Well, the scales of justice have shifted, but they still weigh heavy on the side of guilt. Counsel, you have the floor again. Continue with your submission examination.
Okay, so we have pitted 2. The system works works like this: when you have pitted two contradictory statements against each other, if it is proven to be worthy to be accepted in the courtroom, then you will gain 2 innocent votes. So to overturn this verdict, we need to pit another 2 of the contradictory statements. So let's find the contradictory statements. I'm changing my leaning to innocent. I should like to hear what the slipshod bookkeeper has to say for himself. He struck the chap next to him just like this. Brazen, I must say, absolutely brazen. I have simply typed and collated all the images far and drawn the logical conclusion. Let's continue so I can get to the bottom of this corruption. The scoundrel stabbing that poor man on the floor. On the floor. He stuck the chap next to him just like this. Okay, so this might be the last finishing thought of our case for tonight. Juror number 3 said that the perpetrator, Mr. Mason, our client, sorry, not Mr. Mason, Mr. McGilded. Mr. McGilded quickly stabbed the victim next to him right in the abdomen, meaning, in other words, both of these 2 fellas are sitting. But juror number 6 said that Mr. McGilded stabs the man on the floor of the carriage. I think these 2 needs to be pitted against one another. It will eventually create an opening for us to, conjure more doubts in this case.
Objection!
Those 2 statements are completely contradictory. We've heard from more than one witness that they allegedly saw the actual moment when the defendant stabbed the victim. Now, out of curiosity, juror number 3, oh, he looks sus as F. How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim? What sort of motion was it? Like this, stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up, just like the prim banker said. Yes, that was Mr. Fairplay's testimony, quite true. Nothing weird there. Now then, juror number 6. How would you say the defendant stabbed the victim, madam? As far as I understand it, it was like this. He stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. The coachman said so. Now don't move. Take a look at these 2 jurors. He stuck the fellow next to him without even getting up, versus he stabbed the poor man after he collapsed on the floor. My point exactly, Your Honor. What this tells us is that there's a strong possibility of one of the witnesses isn't telling the truth. Oh, but why? I don't know that yet, but what I do know is that if the trial ends at this point, we may never find out. We may never know the real truth. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, can you really let that happen in all good conscience? Thank you, juror number 6. Dark jinx. Okay, now we're talking. What's the problem, you say? That means one of you are lying. The victim as he was sat next to him on the omnibus, and this young dandy saw him do it. And now let's say the victim collapsed on the floor, and then the Shylock stabbed him again. This already saw him do it. See, it didn't happen like that. Well, I have the evidence that it doesn't happen like that, because the final photograph of the crime scene, the victim was sitting. That's how. He wasn't lying on the floor. Alright, a critical junction in our case. Is it the question in hand is, did the two witnesses see two different moments of the same crime, or it's actually only one moment of the stabbing, which only occurs once? I think it's out of the question because we have the photographic evidence and we're gonna present it out of the question. You want evidence, is it? No. The stabbing occurred only once, Your Honor. I will show you some proof. It's out of question that the two witnesses saw two different moments of the same crime, as proven by the crime scene photograph.
Take that!
Wait, it's not that? How could that be? What else do we have? Single step wound. Oh my god, I presented the wrong evidence. It should be this one, the autopsy report. Okay, let's recap. The autopsy report stated that the cause of death as internal hemorrhaging, meaning internal bleeding, as a result of a single stab wound. Single stab wound, that means there cannot be two different instances of stabbing. There could only exist one stabbing in this case, right? So it's actually this one. So let's get back to the case. The victim was stabbed 2 times, but in our coroner's report, the autopsy report stated that the stabbing happened only once. If you allow me another chance, I'd like to present you with one more piece of evidence. It's out of the question that the 2 witnesses saw 2 different moments of the same crime, as proven by the autopsy report. Let's present this.
Take that!
This is the victim's autopsy report. According to what's written here, Mr. Mason was stabbed in the abdomen only once, Your Honor. It's quite simple. The victim was stabbed precisely 1 time, which means these witnesses can't possibly have seen it happen 2 different times. Not really, Susato. We've got a long way to win this case. Still. So they had an under-table agreement. Oh, you're creepy.
Well, in a quite remarkable turn of events, the defense summation examination has flipped the balance of the scales of justice. The jurors now stand at 2 for guilty and 4 for not guilty. Accordingly, there is no longer a large enough majority of the jury for me to adjudicate, and the trial must continue. I hereby ask the defense, prosecution, and witnesses to return to their places, and I call upon all of you to continue to pursue the truth. Lord Van Zieks, continue to substantiate the case for the prosecution, if you please.
Having savored the rich aroma of the carmine contents of this hallowed chalice, it may seem crass to crush it to dust. Pray forgive the discourtesy. As your antiquated tome no doubt says, the prosecution may not speak during a submission examination. So I honored a deathly silence and listened to the charade. It seems I overestimated the intelligence of the jury. Well, no matter. There is nothing so hard to prove as self-evident truth, it would seem. And why else would we grace a courtroom with our presence after all? So, let us proceed to the next round of battle. Bring forth the witnesses once more. Witnesses, I trust you heard the summation examination we have just had to endure. If it transpires that in your previous testimony you were attempting to veil the presence of the fifth passenger on your omnibus, you will be found guilty of perjury. You are advised to bear in mind, sir. Alright, so to any of you who might not understand this, Haziq as well, Haziq, perjury is committing a dishonesty or providing a faulty or false evidence inside a court, giving false statement, or providing fake insights inside a court. That is perjury. Basically, anything that has to do with lying inside the court is perjury. Perjury is lying inside the courtroom. So that is a very, very grave mistake, as well as an offense, a grave offense inside the courtroom. So in this case, none of the witnesses shall commit perjury. In order to avoid that, they have to tell the truth. So let's stick with the rule of perjury in order to gain back the trust of our judiciary committees or the judge and jury. Right, I think that's all for tonight. We'll continue this case sometime later. And to Haziq, I promise I'll find the truth and solve this case. We still have 3 more lives, if I'm not mistaken, and for that we are gonna use all those 3 lives to complete this case and find out the truth. We will, Haziq, don't worry. So basically, Haziq has given us the link of this courtroom simulation, and he has challenges to actually find the truth and get a not guilty verdict for our clients. Using those remaining 3 lives, we shall try to get it probably tomorrow. So stay tuned. Thank you guys for joining us, and I'll see you guys next time. I'm gonna end the stream right now.